Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hearthsinger Tales. I am so pleased to be joined by my awesome party of friends and maybe fools. We'll see on today's episode who is still horned up from last episode, baby.
That's my secret, Cap. I stay horned up.
Can't stop, won't
Can't
stop.
won't stop. It's a lifestyle.
Default setting.
Just call me Horatio Hauntblower.
God, what a strangely deep cut that is for a very specific group of people.
But they're my people.
Guys, I am loving this party dynamic. I'm a little terrified, but I feel like every good DM should be a little terrified of their party. It's like an equal opportunity terror machine. Just a back and forth.
Synergy. That's a business word.
In this case, like sinners, like a sinner.
Sinner, comma, G.
Nope. Okay. Daria, what you got against Captain O'Dear? She's just.
I have nothing against Captain O'Dear. I find Captain O'Dear endlessly entertaining. I do not think that is a mutual feeling.
No. Or maybe, you don't know. If you rolled an insight higher than 11,
Wow.
you might know more, but
Wow!
Wow, dice shaming.
What
It
says the
started.
woman who hasn't rolled anything yet this game? I hope you crit fail.
you don't know!
I do know.
You don't know!
No,
I'm
you're
rolling
not.
rocks back here!
Don't you fucking lie to me.
You don't know!
I can
How
see
do
it
you
on your
know?
face. Also, we're in Zoom, so I can see you not rolling dice.
I'm using my own online dice roller.
You're a liar. I know you better than that. You don't do online dice rollers. What kind of quitter uses online dice rollers?
When I'm DMing for stream, I use online dice rollers because I can't do math fast
Well, you
enough.
should be ashamed of yourself.
That's honestly valid, though.
Wait, how did the power dynamic get turned around? Who's in charge of this show?
It's the power of Daria. Yep.
I'm literally sweating. I'm sweating right now. All right, I have to get control of this situation.
Good luck.
Ha! That's my primal to launch us into our story. And you know what? I think that's just what we're going to do. Brock.
Hello.
Hey, baby. Cast your mind back. 5 years. Well, roughly 5. Time in the Feywild is so very hard to pin down. You're breathless. You're bloodied. You're battered, but invigorated by training with the druids at the Court of Seeds. Before you, a great dire bear is hurled back with golden eyes and thick brown fur, and they roar and heave to try and get breath as blood spills from their wounds, and this druid opposing you resumes the shape of a halfling woman. Now, I want to know, because we know Brock is this sort of diminutive gardener man who would befriend Mary Lennox if he had the opportunity. So how does Brock feel about sparring?
Brock is into it. The sparring in a situation where he has been actively encouraged to take the kid gloves off and just go at it with somebody who is very well aware of what they're in for is the chance he very rarely allows himself to take to attune with the bestial nature that resides deep within him. He is in his full animalistic form. His already fairly stocky build is even more so. His face no longer human. His snout, for want of a better term, has now elongated. His ears have shifted. His hands elongated, digging claws, as his full innate badger form is very, very visibly on display as he knocks back his bare sparring partner, and as they revert to their halfling form, he similarly reverts back to his normal, more humanoid form, and gives a very respectful, deep bow to his opponent.
And she just gives you a gruff nod, her dark hair just sort of hanging in her face as she begins to clean herself up. You can see green energy sort of radiating from her hands as she begins to heal some of her wounds. And from afar, you hear a deep, rumbling voice like stone call out, "Well done! Well done, Brock." A tall earth genasi with skin of olive and brown petrified stone, calling to you from against a tree where he seems to be leaning on his staff and observing you.
Brock turns to face the direction of the voice and immediately drops to one knee, lowering his head, staring down at the ground, and says, "Your words are far too kind."
Your reverence is noted by the Archdruid, but he simply smiles down at you as he steps closer, and eventually you see, sort of to your surprise, a hand, a rough stone hand, reach out to help you to your feet. And he says, "Rise, sapling."
Brock will very reverentially take the hand and allow himself to be helped to his feet, and still does not make not even eye contact, does not look the Archdruid in the face at all.
You feel the raw natural power of this being, the petrified stone. You've heard stories about how he was born from a petrified treant to become this master of the grove here, this ruler of this court. And in all of these sort of, tall tales that you've heard about this person, in this moment, he's just a person standing in front of you. And he says, "Now, enough reverence. The time has come for us to talk, Brock. Follow me." And he turns, and with the relaxed cadence of his staff on these moss-laden areas of the wood, you are able to follow him if you wish.
As he does so, Brock does follow a few steps behind, and as he's doing so is very self-consciously trying to straighten out his clothing from the sparring bout, just kind of ironing out, smoothing out some creases in his coat, making sure that his little neckerchief is aligned and as tight as it possibly can be. Just trying to make himself look a little closer to respectable.
From this stone person who is sort of wrapped in worn leathers with the scar of battle on them, and pouches full of herbs that just dangle off of him like curtains of fern and things like that. I mean, he's just laden with the stuff of the Feywild in all of its natural splendor. And as his eye sort of finds you, he calls up to some hummingbirds and he reaches up to them and he gestures back to you, and all of these hummingbirds sort of surround you and begin, straightening your shirt for you and your jacket and sort of helping you. They're just all about you, all aflutter.
Brock appears to be bizarrely fine with this, as if he is somewhat used to this. Like he definitely seems far more at peace with this situation than with any of the mortal sentient races.
And as you walk, you notice more and more animals gathering around you. The music swells, and the time for your solo is at hand. No, he is speaking to you, but as he does so, he's sort of holding court with all living things. Flowers are turning their faces to watch you as you go by, and you find yourself in the center of power here, the sacred grove at the Court of Seeds. For this court, it is a circle of crystalline standing stones cut with glowing runes, embraced by hugs of vines that all draw themselves along the surface of the rocks and towards a central pond. And the surface of that pond is smooth like glass, and light undulates within it. And beside it, even this great creature, Kyanite carborundum, kneels and looks into the glassy surface of the pond. Now that you have come to know us, to live so far from home, how do you know that you made the right choice, Brock?
If I may be so bold, Archdruid, that isn't an entirely accurate assessment in my mind. You say I've come so far from home, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the closest I've ever felt to being at home. I never really belonged elsewhere, and the other folk what were around made it very clear that they felt the same way toward me. I have a use, I have a purpose here. I ask you and the rest of the circle what have given that to me. You were very kind in taking me in, and I'm no fool. I understand that more than like you have some sort of use for me, be it my abilities, my experience with tending the grove, and if that be enough, then that be enough. But of course, if there are any larger use you may have for me, I am your humble servant.
We bloom under the careful tending of your gardener's hands, Brock. You still see us as the ones who take you in, but here in our court we serve each other as much as the land. You are a part of us, one of the rings of the great tree that is our people. Surely there is something that you desire, and I am curious.
Oh, if I were to be entirely honest, the one thing that has always sort of bothered me is that, well, I've never met anyone quite like me. And as he says this, he shifts ever so slightly to emphasize his point. Not the full animalistic transformation that he was in during the sparring match, but more of a halfway point. Still visibly humanoid. The bestial aspect is not there in full form, but his nose protrudes somewhat. The eyebrows go thicker and more bushy. The physicality shifts slightly larger. And he holds that for just a moment before allowing it to revert. And says, I know that certainly here within the circle of seeds, there's druids who can shift into forms such as my partner earlier, but I've never met anyone who can sort of do it on a more innate level to where I can, as I don't really know much about where I come from. You see, I don't really recall a lot of my early years. And please don't misunderstand, I'm not saying I need to find some sort of long-lost family. I know I've heard the stories of the big, you're some lost prince of some ancient land or something like that. I've heard those stories, and those stories aren't for folk like me. I suppose it would be common if I had at least some idea of who I am.
It is an understandable desire, to be sure. One that perhaps together we may be able to find the answer to. There are many in the Feywild, some the only of their kind, some members of a great sect. There are places beyond the Feywild, places that the Court of Influence might have access to through their gateways. Perhaps it would be best for you to step forward should there ever be an opportunity to work with the other courts.
Of course, Lord Archdruid, if that be your guidance, if that be what you recommend, I would certainly be honoured to avail myself should such an opportunity arise. And of course, if I can be of any benefit to the wider Feywild, I would be privileged to offer what meagre services I can.
Have you ever wondered why 5 courts exist so separately?
I assumed that it were somewhat similar to way back in Immortal Realms. Cities do the same type of thing, as I presumed at some point there were a bit of a falling out.
The Archdruid traces the interconnected vines on a nearby standing stone thoughtfully. It is sad to see how distant the courts have grown in this last age. There used to be parties, contests, conclaves, but each of us has clung to our purpose. The court of hunger to ambition, the gloaming to indulgence, influence to their secret magic, radiance to mastering the balance of order and chaos, and we humble tenders of the land, to the protection of the primordial essence of this plane. As each grows in purpose, we all grow apart. But even a stream that splits around a rock must soon after flow in the same direction. I fear they forget the court's true purpose. Each grove anchors our magic across this land, keeps it balanced and flowing. This magic is not just drawn upon by the wood itself, but it is a wellspring that powers all things, all planes, strengthens the veil between them. I hesitate to think how someone, in the guise of service to their court, or perhaps to their own ambition, might corrupt these power sources to their own ends. And at this, he raises a brow and takes you in anew, as if seeing you for the first time.
Ask yourself, if you could control such power, what would you do with it?
I would use it to protect Lord Archdruid.
We shall see, Brock. One day that choice may rest in the hands of a gardener. Well, welcome to The Break. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers at Hearthsinger Games who made this show possible. If you would like to support the show and get access to behind-the-scenes content, early access to episodes, and the chance to sign up for games DM'd by the fabulous, well, me, well, go check it out at patreon.com/HearthsingerGames. But hey, I get it. Money is tight sometimes, and we just got started doing the show, so what would really help us most of all, that doesn't cost any money at all, is for you to march on over to iTunes and give us a rating and a review. It would mean the world to us, to hear what you think of the show so far, but also that will help us reach more and more new baby bards out there in the wild, ready to tell some awesome stories. Speaking of awesome stories, let's get back to the show. Now back in the present day, boom, through time and space, a blackened, charred path winds its way through the foliage in the Feywild's overgrowth as it attempts to reclaim this just scar on the land that you all are following. 3 strangers who have become unlikely allies in a quest to save their homeland. So how is it that you guys travel? Like, what's the marching order? No reason. But also just so we have a sense of visually what this is like.
For Endo, I think I kind of drift between Daria and Brock intermittently, like with an arm looped through the crook of their elbow, just sort of making idle, very friendly chit-chat to just kind of keep the music of conversation in the air. It's really awkward when they don't say anything for extended periods of time, so just sort of making conversation.
I think Daria would hang back a little bit because she doesn't concern herself with things like dirt or mushrooms, so she's definitely not the one who's leading this trailblazing expedition. So she'd probably hang a few paces back and let the gardener deal with that kind of stuff, but she's taking in quiet observation of her 2 companions to, look for any weaknesses or anything like that she should definitely defend and not take advantage of going forward. She'll engage in polite, idle chit-chat, and she'll probably, try and make small talk with Brock, too. First about very normal topics of conversation, and then about very specific, so what do you intend to do with your favor? And, once you have all of the power after this is completed, what do you plan on doing with it? That kind of thing. Tell me your world domination plans.
Brock, meanwhile, is perfectly happy to take the lead in this. He is, the tracking, following a pathway. This is him in his element. So he is very much throwing himself into, this is where he is comfortable, this is where he is happy. Anytime Endo comes up and attempts to link arms with him, it is as if somebody has shoved ice cubes down the back of his neck. Ooh. He just is bolt upright, frozen in almost fear, and tries to play it off as being respectful, but it is very, very clear that he is uncomfortable not uncomfortable in the sense that he doesn't care for the contact. He just has no idea how to handle this situation. And the moment his the attention moment Endo's attention shifts back to Daria, he is immediately back on the path. Right, where are these mushrooms? Right, where is this trail? I'm going to continue. And he is muttering to himself a lot during this process. Like, right, there's the one of the mushrooms over there. I see another one going over this way. That's good. There's that braided scorch mark. I mean, that's not good, but I can see it going in its direction, so that is a good sign in this very specific context. And just constantly like trying to avoid there being any silence in the hope that if he seems like he's busy thinking, maybe people won't talk to him.
Oh, that's absolutely not going to work.
When Endo kind of like drifts back to Daria after scaring the living daylights out of Brock, I think Daria is gonna kind of just be like, so what do you think's going on with that one? Why do you think he was sent?
I mean, he's pleasant to look at.
Well, yes, but
he seems skilled at what he's doing. I don't really know. I assumed it was sort of a first come first serve sort of a thing. So I'm not. He seems very interested in these mushrooms, so they hired him for a reason. It's very fortuitous that he's here.
Did you lobby for the position? Were you the first come first served, so to speak?
Not exactly. Why, were you?
Oh, well, I just happened to receive the missive about being requested at the Court of Summer, and I figured no one else really needed to know. I could just go and take care of it and head right on back to the Court of Hunger, and no one would be the wiser afterwards.
Oh. No, well, it's a complicated story, but this is... Have you ever, been on someone else's journey? That's sort of what's happening to me right now, so I'm just trying to see it through.
I don't think I understand. Do you think you could perhaps just elaborate just a little bit? I mean, we're going to be spending a lot of time together. I'd really like to get to know you better. Your likes, your dislikes, where you came from, that kind of thing.
I came from a very small forest. It's called the Amethyst Wood. I live there with my family. I love wine. I love the rain.
So whose spot did you take then?
Oh, we're just going to skip over it. Okay, well,
I mean, we can come back to the Amethyst Forest. It sounds lovely, and the wine.
It's fine.
I would love to treat you to some wine, but I feel like this is the really juicy part, and
Well, I don't know exactly all of the details, but my brother had this position before I had it, and he no longer has it, so now I do.
Could I insight check that just to see? I want to know if she's happy about taking over for her brother, or if maybe he met an unfortunate accident or some shit. Insight. That's not my best roll. That's a 12.
I'm gonna, I guess,
It depends on how cagey. If you actively want to be cagey about it, you decide. I'm happy to give you the reins there.
I think my charisma score it's pretty high, and I'm also fairly insightful. So I think, I know that Daria is probing for details. I think you would know I'm certainly being honest. I didn't say anything that was not true. I don't seem thrilled about it, but that's probably all you would get.
Nice.
Well, I'm very happy to have you along.
I'm pleased to be here. This is you know what they say, you only live once for an extended period of time. So you just have to take whatever comes your way, and I figured, see the sights.
Oh man, that really got me. I'm sorry. What a thing for an Eladrin to say. Take an inspiration, because you've amused me greatly this day.
Oh my goodness. Well, hot dog.
I kind of want to just get a real quick sense of the ring that was given to Endo.
Mm-hmm.
this is the summer court. They're a little bit sus. Can I do some kind of arcana check to see if I get any vibes about maybe scrying magic on that bad boy?
You can roll an arcana check to see, like, maybe how magical it is, but you'd need an identify spell to know kind of everything that's going on with it.
I don't have that, Ian. I got a 17.
Hey.
Given what you saw, it's definitely got some kind of, I think she referred to it as a ring of protection.
That's summer court bullshit. That's not.
So you do know that it has the magic that is connected to the queen. You assume that there's some kind of magic connecting it with her, whether that could be used to track you all, potentially. Like, magic could go both ways, or it might not, but that you have no real way of sussing that out. You don't have, like, a magic scientist with you.
Fucking magical LoJack.
I'm sorry. If you had gone to the Court of Influence, maybe they could have helped you, but you made a different choice, and I hear you love consequences.
Wow. It took one episode for you to wield Diana's words against her.
That's it.
In front of all of us.
You know what? I'm actually really proud about that. Good job. Good dungeon mastering, dungeon master. With that in mind, Daria is just going to kind of zone out while she listens to Endo's entire life story about what kind of wine she likes and enjoy the view as Brock kind of focuses on the ground in front of her.
Endo, who has been wearing this ring for an hour, understands that it is indeed a ring of protection, that it has been added to your character sheet, and that it is giving you a +1 to your AC. Yeah, that's right. I went into your character sheet.
My god.
No.
I am your everywhere.
Endo's not the I mean, you could guess. I have kind of like an epaulette such situation, kind of like shoulder pieces. A little bit here and there. Otherwise, the armor's pretty sparse, so this will come in handy.
And it is giving off like 5 feet of dim light in every direction. So it's not bright light, and you could, cover it with a glove or something if you didn't want it to be like, hello, I'm here. I guess let's say you don't have an internal sense of like the queen. You don't have the sense that you could communicate with her. It really is just literally the glow that is telling you that we're all fine here. Now, how are you?
I will probably keep the little seed that's producing the light. Like, I'll have the ring turned upside down so the seed is in my palm so I can keep it closed and in my pocket.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe. Now, you all are wandering through this overgrown patch of wood, trying to follow this horrifying magic. I suppose a check of some kind would be good for that. And I'm your dungeon master, so somebody roll survival.
I will take that. My +4 to it, so.
Hooray.
That's not great, though, because I only rolled a 4, so that's an 8 total.
Okay.
Told you the good dice rolls were all in the first session.
Could I perhaps entice our wonderful benevolent dungeon master to allow Brock advantage if I just kind of casually from behind him just say, the trail leads over there, love, and try and get him to sort of bend over further to follow the trail, just, for the sake of my view. And
which he will absolutely do.
Amazing. Okay, just to clarify, are you actually trying to help him?
I can follow a trail. Just because I don't want to be the lead mushroom stomper doesn't mean that I'm not.
You know what? I'll give it to you.
Oh, that's way better. That was an 18, so that's going to be 22 total.
All right.
Thank you.
As you're down there, you are noticing these mushrooms again. And if you want to roll a nature check now that you are on the correct path, we'll say, and are seeing more of these as this sort of path stretches out in front of you, I might be able to give you some more info.
Let's see. No. 5.
Yikeroonies.
That dice is going away.
What you can see is that they're grays and whites and blacks. in terms of their coloration, maybe a little bit of like a mauvey purple every once in a while. They are certainly making their home along this scar, and they are unlike anything you have ever seen in any of your adventures here in the Feywild or elsewhere. You're sort of transfixed by one of them. At first you think it's like maybe spores, and you lean backwards, but then you realize it's almost like the scar breathes, and a heavy mist begins sort of boiling out, begins wrapping its tendrils around your feet from the scar in the land. What do you guys do? What do you think of that?
As he's noticing this, Brock will call back to the other two and say, "I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but I reckon that this may be worthy of some interest. I've never seen the ground leak like this. It looks like it's breathing some sort of fume. I think it might be in our best interests to get off the beaten path for a little bit."
Whatever you think is best.
Something doesn't quite seem right. You turn over your left shoulder, looking through the trees, and in the distance, you see a darkness pervading, almost as if in an office building that's lit with fluorescent lights, somebody invisible at the other end has begun turning out the lights, slowly closing in around you. And that, for a realm of eternal twilight, to have this pressing darkness writhe through the woods towards you, that gives you pause.
I think as an innate gut reaction, whether or not it's useful, I will clutch the long pendant that hangs. It's kind of close to my navel. I will clutch my holy symbol, extend a hand out, and touch Daria and Brock. As I do so, you will feel just like a little bit of a chill, kind of, in the spot that I touch you. And then you will find that your vision starts to sharpen and come into more clarity as I'm using my Eyes of the Night ability. So I am giving both of you endless dark vision for 10 minutes, just in case.
More and more mist surrounds you, beginning to sort of push you guys back along the path of the scar. And you hear in the distance, well, why don't you roll a perception check?
16.
19.
Hey.
Nice. Hey.
You start hearing the sounds of a skirmish or battle in the direction you were already headed as you were following along here. Someone is in trouble and not far away from here.
Well, we should probably just let sleeping dogs lie, don't you think? I mean, we do have a mission to carry out.
Well, I will, of course, defer to your judgment, and again, I apologise if I'm speaking out of turn here. It does appear to be in the direction we were already going, so it could be related to our mission. We should probably at least take a look. We don't necessarily have to get involved, but we should at least see what it is.
Sounds reasonable.
Very astute, I suppose. I'll try and just stealth, perhaps like 15, 20 feet further, just to see if there's any clearer indication of what's happening up ahead.
Sure.
That was way too eager.
Yeah, go ahead and roll a stealth check.
She's like, sure, walk ahead by yourself. Go die.
Go ahead, please do.
18.
Go ahead, Endo. I'll keep the 18 in mind.
While she goes forward, I'm going to start to trail, like draw back a little bit and fall back to try to keep an eye on whatever darkness is pursuing us.
And Brock is going to try to maintain kind of an equal distance between the two of them.
All right, perfect. Endo is covering the rear of the group, and in front, you, Daria, begin pressing through the underbrush, slipping from tree to take a look, just ever so gently placing your footfalls and making sure you don't step on a wayward stick. Let's see if the perception of the whoever is out there, not going to say name names, notices your 18 stealth. Oh God, fell off the table. Ooh. I did roll a die. This natural 20 is courtesy of our friends from the Basically Good podcast who sent me these awesome dice.
Dead to me. They're dead to me.
Well, you might be dead to them soon, so who could say?
Wow.
I don't know, but I know you have a lot of good character ideas, so...
Guys, I don't know why, but I feel like Anne is sort of like out to get me right now. Are any of you picking up on this?
Victory for Captain Odier in my mind.
Okay, so you are out to get me then. Like, I'd understand if it were... Okay.
No more than I'm out to get all of you. So I'm just going to go ahead and have you guys roll initiative.
21.
I'm going to give myself advantage on this initiative roll with my vigilant blessing. That is a 11, which feels correct.
And Brock?
14.
That's what the Brock is cooking. Okay, I've been holding on to that.
Oh, no.
Oh.
So Daria, as you step up to this clearing, you see a skeletal figure with his hands crushed against the head of a screaming person in a cloak as their grip is just locked on this head and twists, and the body falls. The screams that were calling out end. This figure stares directly at you. Ah, I see we have an uninvited guest. And he coughs himself to death, and then he dies.
I won!
Come, shadows, stretch yourself. Welcome them to our band. And Daria, you are the first in initiative. There's no surprise round because you were seen, but you're still super fucking quick. This creature is about 35 feet away from you. And they're standing in what is essentially a 50-foot clearing that has like a little camp with a dying fire in the center of it and a few bodies scattered around.
I think if anyone were to look at Daria right now, they would see the face of someone who's been waiting for this. And her eyes up until now had looked sort of just a deep burgundy color, but they almost seem to come alive in this moment and flare a bright, fiery red. Daria is going to rush forward, pulling her rapier from its scabbard as she goes. And in doing so, she's going to intentionally grip the blade and slash across the palm of her hand, sliding to a halt in front of this figure and making a quick stab at it.
Roll for stab.
That was my crimson right. So let me take my damage first. 1 damage. Okay, all right.
Good gamble, good gamble.
I forgot that I only have 25 hit points. Rest in peace, me. I will swing to attack. That's a dirty 20 to hit.
Yeah, that'll hit.
11 piercing damage and 1 necrotic damage.
The point of your rapier just hits right through the ribs, and you see, or rather feel, him sort of pull and push against the blade, locked in combat with you, and these dark eyes begin to glow with an ethereal green light.
How charming. You want to dance with me? Ha ha ha!
Brock, your turn, followed by Endo.
All right, Brock will nod to Endo, gesture that he is going to go and join Daria, and will charge forward to push through into this clearing himself, which I presume we can still just see the one enemy that Daria is.
Right now, you can just see the one skeletal figure that is locked in combat with Daria. What you do notice with your passive perception of 12, though, is that the shadows here are sort of lengthening themselves out from the trees in odd ways that don't make sense for the light.
With my movement, can I close to join Daria, or am I too far away?
So Daria had gone ahead and scouted ahead, so you would have to dash to get to where Daria is.
I'm not going to dash this time. I think what I'm going to do is get as close as I can with move action. Then he is going to remove the two-handed woodsman's axe from his back and turn to kind of scan around for any additional threat, and I'm going to hold my action to take a swing if either the enemy Daria is fighting or anything else gets within range.
Love that for you, and for me. And Endo, it is your turn.
Am I picking up on what it is that might be pursuing us?
Why don't you roll either, I guess, like an arcana, a history, a religion, like anything you think might help you understand what something is or its nature.
Insight?
You could roll insight as far as to understand like the strategy of what this creature seems to be trying to do.
Sure, why not? I feel like that's fair. Okay, that is a 15.
Cool, so you don't have a sense of what this thing is, but you've been in enough scrapes to know that you're being chased into something.
Hey, I really hate when people try to tell me what to do. I'm going to cast Shield of Faith on myself, because I'm just kind of back here. So I will do that, and as I do that, I'm also going to pull an arrow out of a quiver I have kind of nestled behind me, and pull out my longbow and hold my action. I will fire at anything that appears threatening that emerges from the darkness.
All right, so you are going to stay put where you are and not move forward?
I'll probably close that, move my distance, like basically back up towards where my party has gone, but I'm keeping my eyes out behind us.
You find yourself on the edge of this clearing as well, sort of almost shoulder to shoulder with Brock, both of you with an eye on everything else, and Daria with eyes only for this skeletal figure. The skeletal figure will claw upon you. Yeah! And in fact, I don't know if your AC is more than 8, but I have a feeling that it is. His claws sort of rake against the blade of your rapier, trying to extricate it from him, but to no avail. And he opens his mouth, and you just see a rotted tongue just slathering. Slathering is not the wrong. It's slavering. Salivate. You know what? Let's move on to some other cool things that are here. Now, stretching out from one of the trees beside you, Brock, a dark shadow begins to constitute itself in your own sort of form and face you, and it attacks you. It really does. It do it. It got... Okay, all right. That natural 20 was like the only good roll because I rolled a 9, so that's good. That's good for me. All right, another one appears beside. Let's see. Let's roll a d6 and see who it's gonna be. This one appears beside you, Endo, and strikes out at you.
Oh no.
Does an 11 hit you?
Not with all my special stuff going on right now, even though normally it would.
I mean, you know what? I can't be mad that you're using all your cool special stuff. I'm just happy that it's working, because sometimes you use special stuff and it doesn't work.
Right.
So, bully for you! The last shadow will appear again beside Brock. And does a 19 hit you, Brock?
Yeah, just barely, yeah.
Okay, all right. That is 9 necrotic damage as you feel a chill go up your spine. It almost knocks the breath out of you. And
question.
Yes?
Did these things emerge from the darkness, triggering my held attack?
Oh, yes, actually they do. That is true.
I can only attack one of them, so it probably would have been the one that appeared first. So I guess the one that attacked Brock first would be the one that I would.
And Brock is also going to get a chance to hit it as well.
Okay.
So,
how's about a 12?
A 12 hits.
Neato burrito. Oh, that's less neato. Okay. 3 points of piercing damage. I'll take it.
All right, and Brock, do you want to roll to hit it?
I would like to, but I don't know if a 10's gonna do it.
It is not.
Wow.
But what I would also like to let you know about this necrotic damage that you've taken is that it also saps 1 strength away from you.
Rude.
Fighting dirty out the gate.
Yeah, you should know, just like apropos of nothing, that if your strength becomes 0 during this fight, that you'll just die. So that's just a cool thing. All right, moving back around to the top of the round, Daria.
I hate it here. So this creature that is waving its tongue around in my face.
Normally a cool thing for you, but
I mean, I don't know if that's true. So I know you said it was kind of a skeletal figure. Does it have flesh? Like, is it just an emaciated skeletal figure, or is it actually a skeleton with a tongue?
he's got a tongue. He's got a cool beard made of mist and like a little hat.
So blood?
For what purpose mechanically are you asking this question?
Well, see, I get to invoke curses, but the thing has to have blood in its body to be affected.
Oh, yeah, no.
Great. So instead, Daria, kind of face to face with this creature, is going to just sort of smile and stare down the length of her rapier that's still kind of embedded in this thing's flesh. And she's actually going to let it go. Put her hands down for just a moment. And the grin on her face actually physically elongates. And you see her jaw start to stretch, and her ears will form points. And the skin that looked sort of purplish gray now sort of resembles like a silvery pelt with these very fine hairs sprouting up all over the place. Beneath her tail coat, her muscles will begin to bulge just ever so slightly, and her frame will widen just a little bit as she hunches over, staring down now at this creature. Daria, in a half-wolven form, is going to just growl slightly and then dig into this bony mess in front of her.
Dogs love bones. That's what I hear from my dog.
Sponsored by dogs.
I-
Yeah, I just get an unarmed attack this turn, and then next time I get several.
Okay.
And even though it would seem natural for a wolf to go in with their jaws, Daria's just a little bit sadistic. So instead, she's going to reach into sort of this bony, half-desiccated chest of this thing and try and just rip out a chunk of it.
Oh, yeah,
with
baby.
her clawed paw. Does an 18 hit?
I'm sorry, I was distracted by thinking about bones. Nope, it all sounds wrong. Yes, an 18 hits.
I was gonna say, if an 18 doesn't hit, fuck me, I'm dead.
We're in trouble.
This will not end well. Goodbye, cruel world.
Awoo, as they say.
Ah, woo! Cool. So that's going to be 7 slashing damage.
All right, Brock, followed by Endo.
Brock takes this hit from this shadowy creature, and as he kind of reels down from the blow, next to him, Endo would be able to detect this pulse of energy from the ground down beneath him, and can see this just small rocks and dirt, like part of it just momentarily around his feet just floats up before crashing back down to the ground. And as he raises his head back to face these two shadows, his features have shifted. His physicality has grown. His face has elongated, the beard spread into fur that now covers his entire face, as he has once again returned to his badger hybrid form, growling at these two shadows facing him. He grips the axe in these now two large shovel-like claws and swings straight at the one that had the audacity to attack him. Which is going to be a nat 20.
Yeah,
Nice.
baby!
Barbarian crit! Oh, this is going to be so nasty. Alright. So that's an 11 and a 12 on the damage.
All right, describe your
What?
kill.
Murder machine.
With 26 points of slashing damage. With just a deep guttural, just double-handed over, straight diagonal through, bisects this shadow, spinning around as he allows the momentum to continue him around in a full circle, and with a heavy stomp stops himself with his foot down, staring straight at this other shadow right in front of him.
So as this shadow is cut in twain, it almost just dissolves into ichor and then sizzles up from the ground as it is completely dissolved. Endo.
This is interesting. Both of these people just turned into animals. I'm very excited about this. Okay, so there's still two that are standing in our kind of immediate vicinity, correct?
There's two. One is focused on Brock and one is focused on you, and then Skeleton Man.
And then the skelly belly. Endo is going to, with her right hand, again reach for this long pendant, and with her left hand extend her arm upward, pointing towards the sky while holding this bow. Brock, being in the immediate vicinity, would see like a hazy quality to the air around us. Little twinkles of starlight, almost like dust in the sun, all around us, seemingly coming out of nowhere and illuminated by who knows what light. I'm going to cast Healing Word on Brock. It's 1d4 plus 4, so you get 6 points of healing. And then as soon as I feel that spell take hold on Brock, I'm going to re-channel it, and those little flecks of starlight are going to get brighter and brighter, but they're going to converge back on me, onto the bow that I'm holding in my hand. And I will, I guess the one nearest me, I'll kind of, at this point, lazily lift my right hand up in its direction, and I'm going to call down Mon Saint-Éclair. I'm going to cast Guiding Bolt on it. That is a 10 to hit. I don't think that's going to do it.
Now, this would be a disadvantage because it's in melee with you. And unless you have Warcaster feat for some
Nope,
reason.
you're right. But I mean, I don't think it's going to hit. Yeah, the other one was better. So you are right.
You watch as this thing sort of stretches itself apart, making a hole for your guiding bolt to pulse through it and splatter against a tree in the distance. So you are still toe-to-toe with them. This skeleton is now facing down this werewolf creature, and he laughs and says,
That's a nice trick. How about a treat, puppy?
fetch! And he reaches underneath his little cloak and pulls out 2 flasks of acid and whips them beyond you towards your friends Endo and Brock. Endo, does a 17 hit you?
I mean, with violence, yes.
You are hit suddenly as this vial of acid cracks against your armor, and it sizzles just a little bit for 7 damage.
Now for Brock.
And that is a natural 20.
You guys, I know I'm new here, but like, is Anne trying to kill us, or like, what are we doing?
That's 14 damage for you, Monsieur Brock.
Of acid damage, you said?
Yes. Are you resistant to acid damage?
No.
Just say yes, dude.
Oh my god.
Just fucking say yes.
This is brutal.
She won't know. There's a limit to how many rules she can remember. That's true, folks. The remaining shadow by you, Brock, sees this opportunity and is going to strike out at you. No. Does a 13 hit you?
So as that blow comes in, growling and shaking off this acid, Brock turns and the bushy badger tail attempts to bat away the blow using my Form of the Beast tail reaction.
Nice.
So I get to roll
Amazing.
1d8 and reduce your hit roll by that amount.
Nice.
Which is going to reduce your attack by 6.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that'll hit.
Which will not, because my AC is 12, so it was going to, but nope, not anymore.
So your tail swings and just splits the shadow in two, and it begins to reconstitute itself, but it was not able to land a strike. The other shadow, however, will face off against Endo.
Oh, I need to roll a concentration check.
I would love it if you would.
Oh, that's an 8. Shield of Faith drops.
Shield of Faith is no more. Psst, that's the sound of it going away. So does a 14 hit you?
Yeah, now it does.
It does? Oh, well, that's good for me. You take 10 necrotic damage. You two feel the chill hit you, and you feel your strength reduced by 4 points.
Oh my god.
So this thing has fixated itself on you. It sees you as the source of light, its greatest enemy, and it begins just wrapping tendrils of shadow around you. Daria, your turn?
Yeah, so this skeletal dude is making some smart comments, and I don't really appreciate that fucking attitude or accent.
Wow, rude.
I mean, I love you. With my clawed paws, my clawed paws. I'm just going to start raking at his chest. Sort of with the express purpose of, if there are any more of those acid flasks in there, if I break them, that would be cool.
Okay.
But it will just be 2 just straight unarmed attacks. Which, one of them was a critical failure, so that's not going to be great. The other one was a dirty 20.
The dirty 20 hits.
Yeah, I didn't think the one would.
Yeah, no. but the other one does, and I just want to focus on the positive, the clawed positive.
That is going to be another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points of slashing damage.
You slash, and some of his ribs just break off and crack and clatter to the ground, and his laughter at you becomes just a hacking cough as he feels himself ripped asunder. But not quite asunder. Not totally asunder. Just like a little sunder.
Can I sort of extend my limbs and sort like a predator in the wild might like just beef themselves up to make themselves look bigger? I want to take up as much of this thing's field of vision as I possibly can so that it cannot kill my squishy friend.
You know what? Why don't you roll an intimidation check to see if you can get him to focus on you?
I don't know that that's a thing I'm great at. I'm okay at it. It's not my best skill.
Well, I'd practice. No.
I'm a fucking werewolf.
I'd put in the work.
Oh, no, that's not gonna go well. That's a 4.
It is laughing and wheezing and coughing. You don't know what that means.
That's still good enough.
Yeah, you still did great. Listen. Brock, followed by Endo.
Right, so am I currently in range of both of the remaining shadows?
We'll say, why not?
He's going to turn his back to the one that he's fighting, shift his attention to the one that is clawing the hell out of Endo.
Okay.
and with continuing the momentum through from the previous attack, is just going to carve down to try to pull this thing away from Endo. So that is going to be 17 to hit.
That will hit.
That's good. With the rage damage, that is going to be 17 points of slashing damage.
Describe your kill.
Continuing the growl, which has just been this low rumble this whole time. This one that was trying to wrap its tendrils around Endo just severs those through, and on the backswing just cuts through, carving this thing in two, allowing the momentum to swing him through, bringing him once again back to facing the one that he just turned his back to, and will growl at this one, "Leave her alone!"
I'm scared. Endo.
The one that was on me is gone, yes?
Yes, it has been completely cut in twain.
Wonderful. Endo definitely looks unsteady on her feet, a little bit drained of some of the color in her face. She's going to, kind of swaying on her feet, cast, I'm going to do a little quick old healing word on myself, because this is a messy situation here. We don't like this. Ooh, okay. 10 points of healing.
Solid.
Am I within melee range of the one that is facing down?
If you wanted to shoot your bow, you could stay where you are.
I definitely don't want to get closer. Are you kidding me? I'm going to stay where I am. I don't like that there's still two of them and they're up. I guess I'm going to point a hand up briefly, and some of this like dust and starlight is going to begin forming, sort of spinning over Brock's head. I'm going to cast Spiritual Weapon, and this massive glittering kunai is going to manifest above his head and slam down point first into this creature.
Amazing.
Ooh, much better. That's a 24 to hit.
That'll hit, baby.
We love to see it. Okay, so that's 6 points of whatever kind of damage this does. Oh, it's actually force damage.
So it sort of splits through the center of this thing and it begins reforming itself. It hasn't quite had enough. The skeletal figure draws its hands from under its cloak again with two of these savagely potent flasks and hurls one at you, Daria. And does a 21 hit?
Of course it fucking does.
Okay, 4 acid damage. Haha.
Hellish rebuke. Fuck you.
Damn, she got me.
You must make a dexterity saving throw.
I have advantage on saving throws against spells. 16?
Yeah, that saves, which means you take half of my 12 fire damage.
So that would be 6 damage, right?
6 fire damage, unless you just happen to be like vulnerable to fire damage, which would be kind of cool.
Well, see, I'm not vulnerable to fire damage, but I do only have 6 HP left.
Oh my gosh,
Yes!
amazing.
So, describe your kill.
Am I allowed to get super flowery with this?
Live it up. You have been working on this bad boy the entire time.
I like to think that the acid hits Daria somewhere on her, like, thigh, so it burned away, it sizzled away part of her jacket, which was just enough to tip Daria over the edge of senseless violence. And so Daria is going to sort of swing down with one pawed hand, and in that moment, you see flame leap from the tips of her claws, beginning in the mouth of this creature that's laughing so hideously, and then immediately spread into its chest cavity, into its arms and its limbs and its jacket, and hollowed out inside of its skull, enough to the point where it's sort of illuminating this whole space and almost driving the shadows back. And Daria's going to grip the rapier that she had embedded in its chest several rounds ago and just sort of rip it upwards. This body falling apart in a little avalanche of burning ember and soot and flesh onto the ground where it stood one moment before.
I love it. Take an inspiration. That was super, super badass. And I cared for it. The remaining shadow takes one look at all of you and has to make an important decision about life and death and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, yeah, no, that's fear. So more and more light is pouring off of this party as you guys do all sorts of things, especially Endo, and now Daria, and this shadow begins sort of seeping away from you, leaning away and whoosh, sizzling its way across the ground to snake away from you. Brock and Endo, you may make attacks of opportunity to try and strike at this thing as it tries to recede away.
After you.
Yeah, I guess as it slithers away, I will instinctively reach towards the whip that's on my belt and just snap it in the direction of that shadow. Try to towel snap it. Shame it to death. That's a 15.
A 15 hits.
That is 5 points of slashing damage.
And Brock, anything
Yep,
from you? What do you
that's-
got?
That is going to be an 18 to hit.
An 18 hits, if you must know.
Going to be 13 points of slashing damage.
Nice.
Would you like to describe your kill of the third shadow creature?
Amazing.
As Endo's whip connects, he takes that opportunity to just stride 2 large lumbering steps forward, and with one foot, his left foot, just stomps this down to pin this thing in place by its shadowy head, and then swings over a big overhand axeman's chop.
With a great swing of Brock's axe, it cleaves easily through that last fearful, inky shadow. The lot of you are spattered with some horrible smelling liquid. You instinctively reach to sweep it away, but it is already evaporated, leaving you dry, and your muscles, everything is tired. And there's no sound but the hitching of catching breaths between you. The darkness that had pressed in around you begins to slowly abate. You can see more and more tree trunks from the way you came, but the mist rolls forward and past you towards the opposite side of the camp. First, you begin to see the bodies, then the dying campfire. Your eyes follow the direction of this rolling mist, and soon your feet, and all too soon, the fog spills over a ledge, almost like a waterfall, a fog-terfall, for lack of a better term. It spills into a great chasm of sky and infinite twilight. A chasm so wide you cannot even make out the opposite side for the rolling clouds in the way. And in that space, a series of lush floating islands of granite and moss that lazily shift as if drifting through some invisible sea. And upon the furthest island, you can just make out a crumbling fortress beneath dark clouds, a labyrinthine structure that challenges you from the horizon.